Hello. Welcome back. So today I was hoping to pick up exactly where we left off last week. I'd say we're halfway done. In GitHub, I want a pipeline of tests and builds and tests to happen automatically on pull request. And I think it's technically working right now, but I want to have some more conditions in the YAML, in the pipeline itself. Only build if the pre-tests work, only post-test if the build is successful, things like that. But then on top of that, some of these fail. The Mac and Linux fail because of a pester test, because of how I changed the SU command, which on Linux is elevates you to root basically. I've mimicked that command for Windows, so it does all kinds of Windows stuff, but I don't want that command to load if you're on Linux. I don't want it to override the Linux SU command. So I added an OS check basically to say, let me find it quick. Yep. Here, let me make this bigger. No, this is fine. So detect the operating system, Windows, Linux, or Mac. And if it can't detect these variables, then it's obviously Windows PowerShell, so we're on Windows. And so only if we're running on Windows, then load SU. The problem is the way my test works is it grabs all of these files and just grabs their name, except for aliases, and says, these are public functions. I expect to see these exported, all of them, when the function when the module is imported. So my pester test here is saying, yep, give me all of the commands. It should import successfully. So give me all the commands that were imported from the module and store those here. And then grab all the public files, except for tests and aliases. And it compares the two. It should say all the functions that are imported match all the files that are in public. And that's, in this case, logic that is no longer relevant because that SU file might be there, but if we're on Linux, it's not actually imported. So that will always fail with how this is written. So I have to come up with a way to fix that test. But basically, these are correctly failing, but I'd like to finish this pipeline and then actually fix these issues. Hopefully we get all that done today. And I've got my fancy schmancy pipeline and all the tests actually pass because I'd like to fix that as well. I've got an issue for that I made just before this started. Figure out how to change how the files are exported and change some logic there. But basically, let's jump back into the pipeline. So I was doing a tiny bit of research. I know I promised I wouldn't look at this until the stream, but I couldn't help myself. I was looking at this a little bit, and I don't know if this is correct, but on steps, which is where we are, I have a job called Linux build, which runs the steps of checkout, build, and then run these tests. I want this second step, the post-build tests, to run. Oh, wait, this should be success. I only want this step to run if this step is successful. And maybe this happens already by default. Like if something in the build fails and it can't properly build the module, I don't want it to run these tests. I guess the tests themselves would fail. I probably don't need this. You know what? Let's ignore this stuff for now. I know last time I talked about like duplicating work, and it may be an extra, second in the pipeline, but over time that adds up. So I'd like to figure out I honestly, right now I have a separate pipeline that runs the pre-built tests. This step should probably be included here so that in the same container, we're pre-testing, building, and post-testing on the same code. Yeah, I'll have to figure this out. I'll just leave it the way it is for now. Because these pipelines, if I come back to pre-build tests, yeah, pre-build tests on a pull request, anywhere, any pull request, it will run these pre-tests. And then my build and post tests kick off once the pre-build tests run, once that's completed. So they're chained together anyway. I don't know if I need to break these out. I guess I should break them out. I should leave this broken out. Anyway, all right. Let me duplicate this real quick. Put one there and put one, whoops. And put one of these guys here. And then I want, oh, what did I do? Put one of these guys here. And this last guy right there. That's built on Linux. This is going to be Windows. Just to give them a name, I don't know what the IDs are set by default behind the scenes. If I need to reference that specific job in the step or that specific step, I guess it needs to have a name or an ID. So I'm just doing this now so I don't have to do it later. Mac OS. Mac OS. I don't think I changed anything, but okay, here we are. So this works. It runs the pre-build tests first, which works. I guess I should name this to what did I call the other one? Build on Linux, post-test on Linux. So this should be pre-test. Cool. Publish. I haven't had to run this yet. Whoops. Oh, so another thing that happened last stream was I accidentally flashed my PowerShell Gallery API key. And the reason for that was I hadn't updated this file yet. This still said build.yaml, which was originally my full release pipeline before I renamed everything. But so when I referenced build.ps1, that did not have this parameter on it. GitHub masks this variable. It knows that it's a GitHub secret, and in any logs, this shows up as ****, whatever. But as soon as I hand this off to PowerShell, it's no longer under the GitHub secret masking protection. And so PowerShell gave an error saying build.ps1 with this key that command failed because there's no parameter named PowerShell key, blah, blah, blah. But it showed up in plain text because I had given it away to PowerShell, no longer under GitHub's protection. And then there was an error on that command. So I may need to revisit this and figure out, because in this full release pipeline, well, I guess now that I've corrected it, but before it was calling this, and this didn't have that parameter on it, so it freaked out. But I think now that I've updated it to this, I probably am fine. But anyway, that was just an interesting thing that happened last week. Right away, I went and rotated my key and everything, but it took me a while to figure out what was going on. Anyway, so... updating step names. Oh, what branch was that? I just committed that to master. Fantastic. Okay. Build and publish. Build. This is technically build and test. This is just tests. This is technically build and test. So let me rename that. Build and test. There we go. So we've got just these tests. We've got build and test, and then this is the full pipeline, build and publish, which isn't being referenced yet. I think. Hang on. Yeah, so on pull request to master, it's going to run this one. But these will run on any pull request. So if I have, what I'd like to start doing is making a branch with the next version number in it. So in this case, 109 is out there. I'd like to make a branch for 1.1, for example, or 1010, whatever the next version number is, and then do pull requests into that branch so that my test build and tests will run. But it has nothing to do with publishing or version checking because I haven't merged it into master. So two separate pipelines here, which is the whole point. Now that I've extracted all this stuff, I can reference pieces here and there because it's pulled apart. So I think this is all working. What I need to come in and fix is this issue. Is figure out, okay, if I come in here, what would that be? We would run pre-build tests. Okay, so build pre-build tests. I forgot how I split this up. I can just call these scripts. So because I'm on Windows, this works just fine. SU is imported. It is a file that exists. So Pester's happy. But as soon as I'm on Linux, it's still saying, oh, SU is a file. This function should be there. And it's not because it's on Linux. I don't load it. So I wonder what the best way is to change this test. So here's the test. Here's my logic for this. So basically, this is the commands. These are the commands that the module actually exports. And on Linux, this would be different. It would not include this one. And then it goes and grabs the public files that live in this public folder. Functions public. So GCI public star.ps1 exclude whoops, wrong thing. Pipe. There we go. So I get all these files back. So and then I'm comparing them. Let me run this actually. And I've got public files. Okay, so then I'm running this compare those two. And if any of them fail, which means not fail, but if there are results returned, that means there is a difference. So let me come back to this and actually do a filter where this is not equal to SU. So filter that out. And then if I rerun this, there, SU returns, and then that's when this should be empty. So this test fails because I have SU and it just explodes. So I've got to figure out on Linux see, I don't really have any other criteria. How can I detect what functions should be there without relying just on the files? That's the whole problem. Is I'm dependent on the file. I literally use the file names. I come in here. Whoops. Public files.base name. And I say, oh, these are all the names of the files. I should see these exported. But now that I'm making SU OS special, that's no longer the case. So how can I still do this? I guess I could manually come in here, not SU, bring me back to that test module. I can manually do the OS check. And say, do a switch on the detected OS. That's all I want. Okay, so if it's Windows, well, you know what? This has to be after. This has to be after the comparison, yeah. After all the results are in, but before the test actually runs. If Windows, actually don't do anything if it's Windows. But the default, so if it's on Mac or Linux, then I want to say, I basically need a list of, I would have to come in here and edit the pester test if I wrote another OS specific function and add it to this filter that I'm writing right now. So the way I would want to do that is non-Windows functions equals, I would just have to add it here and then say public failed functions where object No, I think I would need to loop through all of these. No. What is it? Not contains. I always forget which one of these goes first. Oh, not in. You know, if I'm going to use not in, I think it is the other way. Where, in this case, SU would come through eventually. If it's on Linux, SU is not in the safe list. So SU is in this list. So this would come back false, meaning SU would not be returned to this variable. So it should filter out the bad one, or the ones that are okay to not be imported. In this case, there's only one. And then this should come back true. Or like, okay, because we just, it should be empty. We just removed it. Okay, wow. Let's try that. What was the test that failed? It was just the pre-build tests. Well, and on Windows, this is going to pass anyway. I'd have to push this up and let GitHub do it. I don't have a Linux way of testing locally here. All right, cool. So the test still runs. And if it's Windows, like maybe there's a case where if it's on Windows, only load this function. I said that backwards. Only load a function for Linux. Don't load it. Oh, grep is another one. Oh my gosh, Admin Toolkit also has grep. I don't want my Windows version of grep on Linux. Just use the Linux grep. Yeah, I've got grep here, which is just filter or regex. Yep. So it's just like select object. It's just grep. Just searches each line, returns those lines. So very cool on Windows. Nice shorthand for using grep. You don't get all the extra flags or anything, obviously, but yeah. So I also want to exclude that one from loading on Linux. I think Linux also has a locate command. I'll have to come back. I think maybe those three would be it. Okay, anyway. Let's just add grep. Make sure this doesn't explode. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to I need to delete this file. Okay. I'm going to turn this itself into a port request. So, test update. adding there, that'll push it up to that branch. And I should be able to make a pull request on that. Great pull request. Yeah, see, oh, because I am merging this into master. So these are basically duplicates of this one. So if I'm merging into master, I probably want to exclude those from these. These should only PR if it's not master. Oh, Linux still failed. What broke? Not recognized as the name of a commandlet. Oh, I need to update this as well. Shoot. Okay, so it passed this test, which is actually really cool. So that worked, but I forgot here. I'm doing the same thing as I am up here. Get all of the public files and loop through them. So I don't want to have to define this twice. How can I define this once? Yeah, and Pester 5 hands things off kind of strange. Because if I define something outside of this context, then you have to like hand it off as a test case. Okay, it's inside the context. And so this is a new context. It's not this context up here. So gosh, I'd hate to have to do this twice. How can I do it once? Oh, I could do it up here. I can do it outside of the context. Obviously, this will need to get put back. But then I will need to I'll need a handoff. I'll change this. Excluded functions. Whoops. String. Is it just empty? Yeah, just an empty string. Until I actually have some Windows ones. Okay, so then I need to hand off this variable in this default like this. This is very Pester 5 specific. It took me forever to figure this out. Okay, test cases. I want to say excluded functions equals excluded functions. And then this will have to be updated too. And then I can hand this off here just like this. Same way. I just add it to this hash table so it's accessible. There we go. Get command. And then I need to do that same filter. Where object not in excluded functions. Yeah, should register as a command. Okay, let's try that. I think that will be better. You run it locally. Sweet. I should be able to push this up because I haven't merged it in yet. And I think GitHub will rerun the tests if a new commit was added. Yeah, perfect. And let me just double check that there's no more file specific. Yeah, this should all still apply technically. We should have all the aliases. License change log, and I don't do private stuff. So I think we're good. Grep should register. Okay, so there's still an issue. I wonder if this... Yeah, base name. Let me make this a script. Just in case it's not actually getting here, because it doesn't look like this filter actually did what it was supposed to do. So it's handing off each individual file. Oh, you know, I could filter the files. I could do it here. Then I can say, and again, I'm getting the whole file object. So I would say where object dot base name not in. Yeah. That looks bad. I just don't want that line to be super long. Okay. Maybe that'll work. There we go. How's everybody doing? Is what I'm doing making sense? If you don't know what's going on, please ask. That's the whole point of this. Just let me know and I'll explain whatever. If I even know what's going on. I'm very new to using Pester, so I can explain any issues you may have with at least what I've got written here. So just let me know. See, so that's still passed, but will it pass on Linux? Oh, I need to remove it from here then. Because all of the current functions that get through will have to pass this filter up here. So that I don't need that filter twice. Then I actually don't need to pass it here. Okay, that's another change. Okay, let me save that. Changing location of my brain just stopped. Location of there we go. All right. Linux passed. That's good. Let's look at that. Getting green check marks. That's awesome. So on Linux, okay, so the way I filtered this, the amount of tests will go down because it's got one less file, and on each one of these files, it runs these tests, and those all add up. So with every new file, it's, you know, adding 8 or 9, 10 tests, whatever it is. So to prove that it's actually filtering this properly, the Windows pipeline should say it ran more tests, because it did not filter out that file. Therefore, it ran 12 tests on just that file or whatever it is. Awesome. This is cool. I will just have to keep this list updated in the Pester test. Well, both of these, I guess. If there are, I can't even think of a Windows command that you would want to write a Linux version for. And then you would not want it to load on Windows. You specifically write a command that is loaded just for Linux. Then I would want to add it to be excluded if I'm on Windows. I don't have any of those right now, but I'll have to look into locate. I think, is that one that already exists in Linux, or am I thinking of find? This basically is a fancy wrapper around get child item, so that I can, locate a file recursively. Just look where I'm at recursively and match this filter. Or I can give it, give it a folder path, and it will recursively search from that folder, but it defaults to where I'm at. So these are all the test files that have the word test in the name. Let me go test star.ps1. go see all the PowerShell files that have test. So here's just it looking in the pester module itself. I think the Linux version is either find or it has its own locate. So in that case, I only want this to load. Oh, that may be that. What I'm saying is that may be another candidate to exclude if I'm on Linux, but until I confirm that, I don't know. So, okay, that's cool. This works. Oh, look at this. We've got a green lights. All checks passed, which is everything. I'm only running pre-build tests. See, that's why I want to add the pre-build, build, post-build to the same pipeline right now. I want to change how I've got this because it's not building or running post tests. That's the problem. So I'm just going to fix that right now. Add this over here. Oh boy. Pre-test on Linux, build, post-test on Linux. Add that puppy right there. Is it there? Run. There we go. I just need to update the names. Okay, I guess that can stay build and test on pull request. Oops, but I will need to make it on, I'll have to look up how to do on pull request. Can I exclude? How do you exclude branches? On pull request. Yep, ignore master. That's what I want. Branches ignore master. Is it ignored? Okay, this repo, it is master. Okay. Okay, sorry. Yeah, let me finish this. I was thinking of something else. I changed the build to include the new thing, and I changed the tests. Yep. Changing build. That means on this one, I just need to get rid of this. It's not on anything right now. Maybe I'll just do it on push. I don't know. Just run this every time. Don't build it every time. Just run it. I don't know. Let's just save this. So pre-test on Linux, blah, blah, blah. So now these should rerun again. Pre-build tests. Oh, branches ignore me. Oh, okay. So the output looks the exact same. Okay. We'll do something else here in a sec that I'll make that new branch, the new release version branch I was talking about. These should all pass. Let me look at this issue. Yeah, I don't think this issue is relevant anymore because I'm not discerning what functions I test for based on what's listed in the manifest. That wasn't the issue. It was because I'm just looking at the files that are in public. So I could probably just have this closed in this pull request. Oh, what was it? Dadgum. Number 7. Yep, closes number 7. Do not the tests are looking. Let me look at this. This should just come back and say, oh, it's the same version. Yep, cool. All right, merge. That'll close that one. Right. Maybe it takes a sec. Anyway. Okay. So we've got it. This one, pre-built tests won't run anymore. Yeah, let me do what I said. Do I have a change log here somewhere? Yeah, version 1.1. So really, I should have all those notes. In a branch for the next version. Now let me undo that, save it. Hang on. Right. Not great. Okay, well, it's here. Now it only lives inside of this version. Let me make some notes here. Tests. On Linux, the su and grep Oh, actually, that's a lie. I need to add that logic to grep. It's not actually here. So let me pull up su right next to it here. Oh, whoops. Okay, now grep is also okay, so I should still be seeing tests run on this branch, right? Yeah, my pre-build test should always be running so that this build should be getting, yeah, there's tests run on every push, run the tests even on separate branches. The only time my build and post tests run is upon a pull request. So if I had I should have done it. Darn it. Let me find something else to change. Let me do this. I think this is too close to that. So let me make a change. Save. SU new line. Making a new branch. There we go. So I'm going to make a non-master pull request. I'm going to pull this SU new line into the next version branch. Actually, I can do that here. Can I make one? I'll just do it in GitHub. There's ways to do it in VS Code. Pull request. I want to pull SU into version 110. So it's non-master. So it should run all the pre-tests, but also the build and tests. Right? Okay, sweet. Just had to load them all. So it's going to run these pre-tests every single time. So that's duplicate work because it's running the pre-tests on their own. And in this case, it's running the pre-tests in the middle of this build and test. I guess that's not a big deal. Who cares? I guess I could do it. want to exclude pull request. On push, but not a pull request. On push. Exclude branches. I don't care. I'll look into that some other time. Ooh, what failed on Windows? These are the post-build tests that failed. Build tests. I think this has to do with grep. That I added grep to the naughty list, I guess, for Windows. Let me make sure I did that correctly. Grep requires Windows. And SU requires Windows. So I'm not sure what this error means. It doesn't, because it doesn't even list all the functions. It just ends with this ... But all the ones that it lists are there. Actually, I can run this locally. So build. Build. Hang on. I cannot remember. I can't keep all these files straight. Build module. Post build. Okay, so I want to just run build. There we are. Now I want to run post. Okay, cool. So now I can come in here and see what's going on. What functions are here? Well, grep is here. Oh, let me look at the tests themselves then. Oh, you know what? I'm doing the same thing here. These are the tests that run on the built version. And I'm using the same logic. Show me everything that exports. Go. Should have function, private functions. Okay, so it's a little bit different test. I'm saying, give me the commands that oh, I see. Okay. So this is show me all the commands that export. Those are obviously public. If they're viewable to the human that imported the module, those are obviously public. All functions, this is a regex saying, get me the name on every line that has function on it. It starts with function, has some text, and then ends in this brackets. That's how I write all my functions. That's how they're all defined is, let me come to the build. They all start with function, this, and then end in the parentheses. So it's grabbing every line that has this. Well, technically, grep matches that regex. I still have function grep here, even though it's not being loaded because this is false, and so it skips. So that's no longer a valid check on the built version, on the built tests. Maybe I just skip it for now. Just remove that test entirely. Then there's one test that runs. Just make sure it all loads properly. It's all valid PowerShell code. That's what that does. Whoops. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to delete this. All right, we'll try to wrap this up here. So GCP, post build. There we go. So now let's see if this pull request passes Windows, because I removed a test that I don't have time to rewrite right now. So they should all be green. Build and test Linux, 2 for Windows, 2 for Mac. Cool. So the reason this is cool is because if you have any of these tests at all, even just one, at a glance, you see the status. If there's even one test that failed on here, you get the X. If all the tests pass, I don't even have to come in here. I know that it ran all these tests, got the check mark. So just visually, it helps see the status of something. And you see that on the branch as well. So just this branch went through these checks just to get here. So I know it's a good branch because I see the green check mark there. One of these is taking a while, but this should turn to a green check mark. And then just at a glance, I know that's a good PR. Come on. Oh, it just passed. Which means everything's green. All checks pass. So if we go back to the pull request list, we get the green check mark. We see it passed all 6. So again, this is merging some change into the next version branch. So it's not publishing. It only does the version check, test, build, test, and publish to the PowerShell gallery if it's a pull request into master. So this is cool. This is basically what I wanted. I wanted to be able to test on all these pull requests and pushes and things automatically and in different scenarios. Some commits into GitHub only run the pre-build tests. PRs run everything. All the test, build, test. I guess not everything, but all the tests. And then only on the pull requests into master, where I merge in a new version, does it do the version check. And then all the tests again. And then it publishes. So that's cool. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. This was good. It could be better, could be more efficient. If I could find out how to rewrite this test or get more actual, just better pester tests in general. I don't think I have very good test coverage. I'm just kind of testing for some generic stuff, but they're not very thorough. So I could improve my testing in general. I could, where are those pipelines at? Only run the pre-builds on pushes that are also not pull requests, somehow to exclude. Like, is there like a not on? Yeah, on, I don't know. On push. How do I say not on a pull request? Triggers a workflow on push or pull request. Events that trigger workflows. Yeah. But I don't even know if that's possible, but that would be a cool thing to add. That way, if it's on a pull request, it's already running the pre-tests in the other workflow. I don't need to run exclusively the pre-test pipeline. So there's definitely more to be done. But for now, I'm happy with this. This is cool. Hopefully you learned something. And all this stuff that I do for this, I'm going to have to basically duplicate eventually for my help desk module, because it's basically set up in the same format. It's got the same tests, the same release pipeline before I started this one. So once I get this one set in stone exactly how I want it, then I'll have to, migrate all of these pipelines and stuff to that module as well. But anyway, all right, did a lot of pester GitHub stuff. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoy watching me be a doofus and figuring things out. And yeah, have a good rest of your week. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. And see ya.